Good morning, everyone. Hello, this is Sean Brown, the Urban Disruptor, and this is Urban Disruptor's weekly wrap up. It is so good to see you, and I thank you for tuning in today. Today is an episode like any other that I'm super excited about. Today, I'll be going over the news and some updates, and I will be interviewing the founder of their academy and a few other things, Anthony Ways. We'll talk about this article here in the Noted News Journal, which is in this week's edition. And we'll also be talking about The Journey and Urbanomics, two books written by Mr. Ways. But before that, as usual, let's get into the news. So I'm going to ask, if you're watching me on your cell phone or computer, just do me a favor and share this. I'm going to do this as well. Let's share this so we can get as many eyes on it. I'm going to talk about some of the news of things that are some of the things that are happening and going on in our community. Give you some updates on a few things. This is a unique angle today because I'm sitting over here for the show. So if you're watching this video, please share it. Let your friends know that you're watching this and that it's going to be interesting and full of fantastic information. So just share the video and start a watch party, do whatever you want so that we can get as many people to have the information about what's going on in our community. I want to start by, as usual, just going over some of the news of what's happening. So let's get started with that. Unfortunately, reported in 6 ABC, a man barricaded himself for 4 hours in Camden and then shot himself. This happened on the 1300 block of Chase Street. The police responded to a man who had a gun at the door, and this happened 1 a.m. Saturday. And he shot himself, and he remains in critical condition. So I hope whatever his issues are resolved, and that's obviously a terrible situation. Also reported in 6 ABC. There's an 8-year-old with autism who was visited by the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And the Make-A-Wish Foundation, in partnership with Subaru and the Camden County Police Department, delivered some joy and created smiles, as the article says. So we are happy to see that we are taking care of our young people, and we're making some wishes come true in this holiday season. Another article. So Stephen Rodas, who's been a guest on the show and writes for Tap Into, wrote an article titled "One Camden Resident on How Her Neighborhood Has Shaped Her." And this article came out yesterday morning. This article features Daria Chacon. I like that last name, Chacon. Daria Chacon, who arrived in North Camden 22 years ago. And then it talks about drug dealing in the neighborhood, improvements in the neighborhood since she's lived there, how she jogs, her neighborhood experience, dealing with COVID-19. What I like about this article is that I think it's important that the people in our community, that their voices are heard and highlighted, their experiences, whether they're good or bad, positive or negative, critical or supportive of policies. It's good to be able to capture that. So, and I wish her happiness and success in all she does. Another article also written yesterday. Stephen, I see you had a busy end of your weekend. Stephen Rodas in Tap Into, Camden man 48 pleads guilty to role in local drug ring. A 40-year-old man pled guilty by video conference Friday. I guess I could say his name because he pleaded guilty. Eric Bell was charged for conspiring to distribute and selling high-dose oxycodone pills, joining 8 other defendants who previously admitted to playing a role in drug operations as well. The article talks about some of the other people. According to we're going to talk a little. When I interviewed Mr. Waits, we're going to talk a little bit about the drug world. But this says, according to authorities, Bell specifically admitted that on February 3rd, he acquired 160 80-milligram oxycodone pills and sold 60 of the pills for $25 each and 100 of the pills for $24 each. Well, one of the guys got a dollar discount, it appears. He's facing a max of 20 years for both charges and a fine of $1 million. He's expected to be sentenced in April. And they had the list of the other people involved, all of which are over 40, the youngest of which is 47 years old, most of which live in Camden or Gloucester City. We obviously have an issue. Look, we obviously in this community have an issue with drug addiction and pills. It's a mess, and we got to get a grip on it. This is to quote the former chief: "We can't arrest our way out of this problem." All right.
Shout out to the.
I did that one. The 6 ABC story popped up a few times. All right. The next thing I want to do, just for a few minutes before bringing up our guest, and for this, I'm actually going to do a screen share, is share some information about some of the exciting things that are happening in our community in the next few days. So I'm just going to go through. I'm going to go through. I can move my chair now. I'm going to go through I'm on this mailing list from the District Council Collaborative Board, which was founded in part by Angela Sorio, who had a birthday last week. And I just want to show you a few things going on. So I didn't mention this article, but there's an article about supporting Black-owned businesses in South Jersey. And they featured the Camden store, which is on Haddon Avenue, run by AJ and Troy. So if you want to do some holiday shopping, there's so many places that you can support in our community, including the Masked Melanin Market, the Camden store, and other places as well. You can look at my previous Facebook page post from Small Business Saturday, and you'll see a lot of businesses that were tagged there. Superintendent McCombs talked about that the date of reopening on February 1st, which was announced in August, will very likely be pushed back due to the way the vaccine will be rolled out. So parents and families can expect remote learning to continue throughout the spring. At least that's the way it is right now. Camden City announces warming center, says it will add more. So as you may have read, there was a tussle between Pastor Amir Khan and Mayor Moran and his team on what warming centers are open, who has access to them, what happens during a cold blue when the temperature hits under a certain amount of degrees. You can look into that for more information. Healthy shopping at corner stores, cooking demonstration and tips. For years, we've talked about in the city that it's a food desert. People don't have enough access to healthy foods. This is maybe I should put the camera on myself. This is a way to address it by making sure people have access to healthy foods. There are a few light shows that are happening. Some we missed already, but if you go down to the waterfront, you can. If you go down to the waterfront right now, you can see a whole Christmas themed display on Delaware Avenue near the aquarium, and it's kind of like between the aquarium and the Ben Franklin Bridge. There are Christmas toy giveaways. If you or anyone you know are interested in getting more information, I'll put it in the comments. But there are a lot of giveaways. Some of these you have to sign up. Your child has to sign up before to be able to get the toy. Places are continuing to do COVID testing. I got to mention Hustle and Social. So I saw this in Millennium tonight. This is not on this list, but tonight at Millennium Skate World, Joey Deal, the CEO, founder, president of Hustle by Nature HBN brand, is hosting Hustle and Social at Millennium Skate World from 7 to 10. It's $20 to get in. You can skate, support small businesses, and support this young man in his endeavor to build a brand all at the same time tonight at Millennium Skate World. Bring your mask. Don't come sick. Bring a lot of cash and money. Spend some money. Support small businesses. Buy a nice gift at Millennium Skate World tonight. There is this is what I was talking about earlier, the Winter Wonderland. So this is going on also today from 5:30 to 9. I should have waited. Here are the details. Right on Delaware Avenue, which is at the Camden waterfront. So you can see the details there of what's going on. If you or your child or anybody does not have, I would say at least 10 books in your house right now, there are plenty of pop-up libraries. You can see this here around the city of Camden. This is led by Tom Martin. He wasn't the first to have the idea. We had the Hood Librarian as well. But these ARCs are all over the city. I manage one myself, the one that's near Urban Promise. So you can just go there, take any books that you want. They're yours once you take them. It's there for people to have access to books and reading. The Mass Melanin Market will be open today. It's every Sunday, 8 to 1. So if you want to go down and buy something, go check it out. This is by Wiggins Park. All right, and I'll leave it there. All right, so today I want to let me end my screen share. Oh, good morning, everyone. Okay. Oh, hi, Cass. Thanks for saying hi. Hi back to you, Cass. My man. All right. All right. We're about to look. I have to be the cameraman too. We're about to bring on our next guest, for which should be a fascinating interview. Yeah, I like that angle right there. So before I bring on our guest, I want to give a quick introduction to our history, just so this makes sense to people. And I got to pull something up too. So I've been going to city council meetings and dealing with politics since I was 18 years old. I'm now 38. So for 20 years, I started after I graduated high school in 2000. In 2005, I was at a meeting that Ali Sonel hosted. I actually don't remember specifically what that meeting was about. I believe it was a planning meeting for some activity. And at that meeting, he introduced Mancakes, Anthony Ways, and Mr. Ways told his story. Something that he said I found interesting, and I talked to him right after the meeting. It wasn't long after that Mr. Anthony Ways started an organization called, here, why don't you come over? Can you help me hold this up for a second? I'm only but so coordinated. An organization called You're Not Heavy. And You're Not Heavy, the name You're Not Heavy is based off of a painting called You're Not Heavy, which you can see here. And here you obviously see a man with his hand held down to lift up somebody else. And You're Not Heavy was all about the concept. How you doing, Mr. Wade? You want to have a seat? You're Not Heavy was all about the concept that you're not so heavy that I can't pick you up when you're down, when you need help. That was You're Not Heavy was named after a song, You Ain't Heavy, You My Brother. And then they named the painting that, and then Anthony named the organization You're Not Heavy. With that said, Anthony, if you fall, I will mentally try to help you, but I don't know if I can actually, I don't know how good I can do physically picking you up.
That's all right.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you could be here. This is the Urban Disruptors Weekly Wrap Up. I am a part of the WCMD family. You see those letters right above my head. Anthony Ways is the founder of WCMD. This was his concept, and he brought Gary, Diamond, me, and a few other people along in the very beginning, which was an interesting meeting, which I'll never forget.
Yes, it was.
You know what? Let me just say, I was going to say this anyway. This is a good time to put it. I have never talked you out of a fight or violence, but you've talked me out of it many times.
I'll tell you, as far as perceptions in our community.
Right.
They think I'm a violent guy or a gangster. I've told people Sean is more gangster.
Well, let's not. I don't know how many people need to share that concept with, but I would suggest that people not mess with me.
I would suggest it too.
How are you today?
I'm at peace.
Thank you for being here. So we are here. We're here at Dare Academy. And let me first ask, Dare Academy has a dance studio, gymnastics room, the media center, transformative justice initiative, I Dare to Care, led by the great Miss Pam Grayson Baltimore, event space for freedom repasts and children's parties. This is a former school with a lot of physical issues, but still has space that we're able to do fantastic things with. In the grand scheme of things, how is their academy addressing gang violence and some of the biggest issues that our city faces?
So I think like gang violence is a cultural issue. We identified gang violence as a primary issue, but the reality is a cultural issue within our community that we have to address. And in that space, I'm talking about absent fathers, poverty, all those underlying issues lead to our youth participating in gang activity. And then when you're a part of the gang, you got a fake big homie that act like he a real gangster, but he really not. And they'll have the young boys go do things that he wouldn't do. So in that space, he'll soup him up, what we call it the battery pack. And, they'll have the younger people that is hungry for family, connectivity, something to be a part of. And then, the older guy will manipulate the younger guy to go out and practice that nonsense. So I think it's upon us to identify and communicate with the leaders of those groups in the space of demanding for them to, show a better way. I'm convinced that even those leaders are looking for a better way. They just going along with what the culture say, this is what we're doing. Understanding that we got 40 years of a drug culture in Camden. Our economy was based upon it, right? So in that space of providing for family, providing for a little brother or sister, living in the poorest community in America, those spaces or those empty spaces call for a hunger of connectivity. So I think our young people is chasing that, and as adults and the leaders of our community need to figure out how to change that energy and direct it in a more positive and productive way.
So speaking of a positive and productive way, in the latest edition of A New News Journal, this is put out by editor publisher Chris Collins. You can find this in Wawa. You can find it in a lot of stores, anywhere. You can get it here at their academy if you want a print edition. But Anthony, you are on the cover, and it is I read the interview. It's pretty long and detailed. It covers a lot of ground. And one thing in particular that you say in this article is Chris asked you about you're charged with murder that you definitely did not do. You're in there. You eventually get out. The screen images.
You are multiple times.
I know. I'm being told that the screen is covering up our faces. I think the shot, guys. I think the shot looks okay. I'm looking at it.
Push it up a little.
My film person was telling me that the angle is a little off. All right, let's see. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Anyway, so in the article you say that. Let me actually read it. All right. So in the space of energy, a lot of force was behind me, getting my head knocked off in sentence. Where on my side of the energy, it was scattered. I was not focused. I was all over the place. I was being a victim of, oh my God, I cannot believe they're doing this to me. The white man is doing it to another black man. I was in the space of accepting the definitions, and in that space of energy, not being focused. Now, in my journey, and that's the name of the book, and in this, one of the lessons, you have to focus your energy, and the energy is only focused when you surrender it to God. Therefore, when you surrender it to God, you have a purpose. You come up with your destiny. You come up with an understanding of what your core belief system and your center. When you talk about that belief system and how it motivates you to make changes in the community, where do you think you are now with that?
So it's a journey, which means it's a continuous. Like I remember it used to be argued, or it's still argued, that in law or being a doctor, you're in a practice. That means that every day you got to sharpen your skills to come up with the understanding of the new science or the new application of the law. I would say the same, that we have to figure out how to get in that space of communicating with our youth. I done lost my thought. What was your question again?
Well, let me follow that up with another question though. So in your late teens, you were what many would consider to be a successful hustler, successful drug dealer in the streets.
Okay.
You're in prison, which actually isn't really even connected to dealing with drugs. It's for a murder that didn't happen. Well, excuse me, that you didn't do. And then then on your way out, the New Jersey State Supreme Court overturns your case because of issues with evidence and all that. On your way out, you decide to live a life different than you did when you went in.
So
what was that? So what was that journey like?
The journey began in prison. It was what you just read. Me recognizing that as the neighborhood. I don't know if you say drug dealer, but whatever. I participated in the streets in a lack of understanding of what I was really participating in. So I would argue that during the 80s with Reaganomics, the dynamics of urban neighborhoods changed. And the building of suburban neighborhoods became the priority. And in that space, the resources from the communities was taken out. So corporate America, large businesses went to the suburbs. So now our dollars are no longer circulating within the community. It's going outward. Now, in the outward, that means the community tax base is low, the income is low. All this reduction of not having resources then call for a demand for something to replace it. It then get replaced with welfare, Social Security, unemployment, and narcotics. Narcotics had to be the number one provider of income in Camden, especially during the 80s and 90s. So in that space of
Can I add?
Yeah.
This was intentional.
Intentional.
So you had white folks and upper middle class Black people leave Camden in the 70s, especially to the suburbs, as Cherry Hill and other suburbs expanded. You had redlining where people who qualified, Black folk and the Latino folk who qualified for a mortgage on paper just because of their last name or just because they lived in Camden were not given those mortgages. This is something Quincy Bloxam talks about often with redlining. So you had people forced,
or they was given subprime mortgages.
Subprime mortgages, so then they end up with a mortgage payment they can't afford.
Correct.
After a few years, when their interest rate increases, as these things are happening, you also have the Nixon administration and Reagan administration intentionally planting narcotics into the urban communities, contributing to the deterioration.
Yes.
And
so you got Campbell Soup fleeing, and you got the Reaganomics, freeway rookie narcotics flushing in the community, and the price go from 70,000 when Reagan first got in office to 10,000 by the time he left.
When Campbell Soup left Camden, their manufacturing facility left Camden in the early 80s. I read an article. Randy says we are going to God bless his soul. We're going to replace these jobs soon with other jobs. Their replacement never happened.
Never happened.
The way my grandfather told the story, if you worked at Campbell Soup in South Camden and got fired, all you had to do was walk across the street to the New York shipyard and you got hired the same day.
Right.
That economy is over.
Gone.
And those jobs have not been replaced.
Gone.
And at the same time, now we're at a point where the school system, although it's getting better, hasn't necessarily, when you have a dropout rate years ago, 10 years ago at 50%, what happened to those young people that dropped out of school?
They went to the streets and they're in prison. So the pipeline from school to prison is a part of this 80s dynamic that we're talking about, where they flooded the drugs into the community and then created the laws to incarcerate us for life. So in the end, me being falsely accused and incarcerated, now I'm still running across the people that are being charged and incarcerated. And which brought me to the realization, oh shit, we being played. And not only we being played, we are quasi agents to white supremacy and participating in selling narcotics. You understand? We are poison in the community, and that poison then creates the ripple effect. The kids are affected, the The husband and wife is going at it. The drug addiction is the destroyer of the family. So as I'm in prison and I'm realizing, oh my, I've been played the fuck up. That allowed me to reach in and tap into what I call the God energy. Pardon me for using profanity, being the same language as God, but that's the space I was in. We got played, we're getting played, and then as I start doing my studies and homework, I'm realizing we've been getting played for 400 years. This ain't no Mr. Ways got played out and sentenced to life as an individual, but the whole community, the Black community, has been sentenced to that death sentence under slavery, police brutality, redlining, and I could go on the laws that have affected us in a negative way.
So in terms of laws that affect us in a negative way, one of the things that you break down in the book, The Journey, is how your situation, in terms of how, you had a clear alibi. Not only did you have witnesses, but your witnesses were credible people.
Yes.
Upstanding people in the community. It was you and a co-defendant.
Yes.
And you were later told that the jury's like, well, what we're going to do is we're going to find one guilty, one not guilty, because it looks kind of weird, but somebody needs to be punished for this crime.
A white guy got killed.
Right.
So back to that white privilege or Black punishment. White guy get killed, find anybody to pay for it was the math. And put enough stuff together to throw it on the wall and see what stick. My co-defendant was found not guilty from the start. We both were supposed to have been found not guilty from the start. But because a white boy is killed and two Black co-defendants, somebody's paying for this. So the jury negotiated a deal. I'll give you both if you give me Ways, meaning like I won't find neither one of them guilty, meaning, that's how a group had it. It was a group of people that wanted to find us not guilty. There was a larger group that wanted to find us guilty. The middle group was the compromise. If y'all say Ways did it, they'll say Brian didn't. And then that became the compromise of the jury. So it had nothing to do with it.
Which, by the way, is a whole completely not the way the system is supposed to work at all.
That is not the way it's supposed to work. I would argue some of that part is illegal, right? I couldn't prove it all.
Yeah, I mean, it is illegal.
Yeah. But
so there are 2 points to that. First, what you talk about in the book is how every system, branch of government, judicial, legislative, and executive, all are complicit, if not responsible, for these violations of the justice system and how it impacts poor people and Black people in communities like Camden.
Not explicit, they intentionally doing it. The government uses the law as a weapon to keep Black people oppressed.
Can you tell the viewing audience that may not remember this or know about Asbill and the type of prosecutor he was at this time?
So the prosecutor in my case, the original prosecutor, name was Samuel Asbill. He's still around. I think he's a lawyer, a practicing lawyer. And during the time of my case, he claimed that 2 young Black men tried to murder him and were shooting at him. During a high-speed chase, he claims that he had a shotgun and he blew one of the guys' heads off. So now the city's in an uproar. Everybody's running around looking for these 2 Black males in the 1.8, I think he said they was in. And the reality was he made it all up. But
so this is the sitting Camden County prosecutor,
yes,
appointed by the government, running the entire office of prosecutors, of lawyers
for Camden County.
And he makes this story up.
He makes this story up. I think they might have sent him to a psych ward for a couple of days, a week or so. And now he's a practicing lawyer. So it's like in that space of understanding, these are the people that are prosecuting us. This is the mindset that they have about Black men, especially young Black men. And not only do they make up, a story of blowing their head off or them trying to kill them, he goes as far as, people like me making up false cases and prosecuting people that are innocent. A lot of people understand police brutality as far as a gun being pulled and shot on a man, but I'm telling you, it's far worse. The worst thing that a police have is a pen. And when he's writing the charge, he's writing the flavor up to fit a conviction. They'll even go as far as giving you 10 charges,
Right.
knowing that you can't you facing life. So you'll plead out the one.
I've heard on several career days where an officer has been like another fellow person with a career talking to young people say the most important class or the class I wish invest in isn't physical education or it's English, because writing that police report is critical to the success of that officer's case holding up in the court of law.
He's more dangerous with a pen than with his gun.
So, all right, we're now in 2020. You have relationships with different types of people, including people who are either elected or appointed in government. Would you in a similar situation, do you think you would still face a conviction by a jury today?
Absolutely.
You do?
Absolutely. Nothing's changed. Even with Floyd being murdered, what changed? Like, if you go into the history of America, these things have been going on for hundreds of years. And the change is only going to come when we tap in and understand. And I'll make the argument about 4 principles. There are 4 critical pillars that Black communities need to master. And that's the knowledge of self, be self-aware of who you are, be confident and understand that you come from a great place. The second thing is law. We must master law. The law has been a tool that's been used against us as in the Black community since our existence in America. So, slavery was a legal thing, right? Jim Crow was a legal thing. Mass incarceration in the 90s under the crime bill was a legal thing. So the law has been used effectively against us. So that's one space that we need to master. Self-awareness, law, and that ownership, right? If you don't own it, that means you're working for it. If you're working for it, that out of the categories, you're still in the slavery category. You ain't the owner of, you don't make the decisions on what the wage is going to be. What product are we going to use? What material are we going to use to make the product? Like, owners make that decision, those decisions.
And you're specifically talking about owning the means of production.
Owning the means
which
of
is
production.
something that you discuss in detail in this book, Urbanomics.
Yeah, Urbanomics, I go into it even stronger, and I come up with a principle called workers' ownership. And in workers' ownership, the bottom line is that we remove the exploitation from the worker, from the dynamics of the relationships or the structure. So you got an owner, you got managers, and then you got the workers, right? And in the dynamics of that, the workers get less than the manager get less than the owner. We need to be in a space where the workers are the owners. And that breakdown is broken down fairly amongst the 3 categories. In that space, I think equality is present, and the exploitation of the worker, which what I call slave wages, right? It's slave wages as opposed to cattle wages. So in that space, I think workers' ownership is a principle that I come up with in urban economics, and it's a good principle.
I want to, well, first, if anybody wants these books, what's the best way for them to get them?
AnthonyWaysJourney.com. They can get them off of Amazon or come up to Dare Academy and pick up one. I do sell them, but at the same time, I'll give them away. You're a father, grandfather, uncle, son. I've personally seen you in all of these roles since I've known you. You are very popular in Camden, especially in certain circles. Well, and greatly respected. Like, I've seen people like walking down the street like, Mancakes. Oh my God, Mancakes. I haven't seen you in years. How you doing, brother? Just getting really excited just to see you. Yeah. And I say you sometimes you sit like it's I almost feel like it's like Abraham or Moses hearing these everyone's issues, and they have their 3 minutes to plead their case, and then you give your ruling and they go on. I don't know if there's anybody else. I don't think there's anybody. I've never met anybody else like this. I know a lot of people myself. How do you take this reputation that you've built over the years and use it to influence a new generation of young people, whether it's your family, people who are considering maybe
being gangsters in the streets. How do you use your reputation to guide these people in the right way when it comes to these issues related to economics and what we should be doing is owning and controlling our destiny?
So in the Anointed News, man, Mr. Collins was talking, and I quoted Jesus in one of them famous quotes. He say, "A doctor got to go to the people that's sick, as opposed to a bunch of doctors hanging around and speaking to their theories on what the issues are, or what the illness is, or whatever." So I feel the same way about that space, about my community, right? You got people up in the office buildings that have these theories on why our community is what they are, as opposed to being in the trenches. So now I'm in the trenches, I'm with the community. My reputation of being a young boy that was in the streets, going to prison and being stand up, never participating in no garbage, and then coming home to serve my community put me in a credible space, as opposed to, I could have came home, I won my lawsuit to prove my innocence. They gave me a couple dollars. I got partners that's in Istanbul, Turkey right now, making clothes and pocketbooks and all type of accessories. If it was about me, I'll be off with my brother somewhere enjoying life, as opposed to, you know, getting these fake shots at me, right? Oh, he's still in the streets. Oh, he's still doing this. That shit, bullshit. But I understand it. And in some spaces, I even allow it to be said, because my ability to communicate with those that are suffering, those that are caught up in the streets, only occur because of my credibility, as opposed to, somebody else coming along and getting brushed off. So when you say now, what you say, Abraham. So when I'm in that space of an issue coming to me, right, I'm looked upon as fair on both sides. Yo, that man stole my money, or that man stepped on my shoes in the club, or whatever the issues are. My response usually is, "How we doing this? Now you gangster motherfucker, you can go do it your way." And now what's the results? What that look like? Or I'm saying to you, bro, he ain't do it on purpose. How about exploring that side of the math and see what you come up with? And most of the time it's communication and the misunderstanding that occur, and through communication they recognize it. So in that space where I get charged for hanging around, I still fuck it. I'll charge me, because my work is in changing lives. And I'm telling you, like, not no ego stroke or none of that, but I know it's multiple lives that has been saved because of my intervention. And it's in my credibility that they think I'm that dude that lends me the credibility to be effective in that space. So, to the negative, I just gotta wear it, because I'm not gonna not do the work. To that space of self, I, I was sentenced to a life sentence. The world checked out on me. As far as I'm concerned, this shit was over with for me. So when I'm here doing the work, I'm doing the work at a greater purpose, looking for a greater cause, hoping to leave my children a better world than what was left to me, or the world that I was born into. So it's there. To the game part real quick. When I came home, it really wasn't, the game thing wasn't that big. It was big in prison. It was big up North Jersey. So I vowed my daughter will not be a gang member. Now, does that mean that I got to go and kick gang members in their butt? All right, whatever it takes. My kids can wear be no body's bloodhead, or no, whatever the terms are. I ain't trying to single out no particular gang. I'm just saying, nah, that ain't happening. And when I'm saying not my daughter, I realize that I'm also saying not my community kids either. So it's in that space that the reason why I dare exist, the reason why I stay put in my city, where I could have, financially wise, I could have went anywhere in the world I wanted, and just live the rest of my life based upon what my pleasures was. But I made a vow in that cell that I will serve my purpose. And my purpose in my mind is to change the culture of Camden from that poverty state to a wealthy, thriving Black community.
So what young people will say that get involved in gangs and street violence and hustling is that they were attracted to, in a professional way, they were attracted to the most successful person they knew that was interesting, looked nice, and had money. Well, a lot of people from Camden that look nice and have money with jobs or and owning things, they move out.
Indeed,
They move
yes.
they move to Pensacola, they move to
Yes.
Merchantville, they move to Lindenwald, Blackwood, wherever. And that leaves so there are interesting people that make money in the city, but a vast amount of people who are given the so-called role models um, are people who aren't doing righteous or who aren't doing righteous things.
Yes.
So that's why it's important that there are spaces like this, because one of the things about their academy is that this is a known safe space. There's an event here, people know that you're not going to bring that goofy stuff here. Now we also have people in the streets that are suffering with severe mental health issues,
Yes.
and it's almost like at a certain point, I don't know if any level of mentorship or offering a job can penetrate that.
Yeah, and to those spaces of mental illness, we need real professionals to address those issues with our children, and many of them have them, right? How can you live in such a state and not have mental issues or not have trauma? So is that I speak to when I say we got to get to the core cultural issues.
In terms of culture, one of the prevailing two fields that we have from the city are related to sports and the arts. I want to talk about those for a second. In terms of sports, can you speak to the basketball games and softball games that you've done and the impact on the community that you think that's had?
So I'm drawn to sports and the arts for a reason. One, it was a space that white people let us in because it entertained them, right? So we mastered it. But that for the same reasons why I'm attracted to the sports, because there's no hidden agendas in sports. The rules are written, right? If you run across the end zone, you made a touchdown. If you hold a person as a hold, right? So where the rules are clear, I think Black people thrive. Where there's red lining and that uncertainty of, something's wrong. We don't know what it is, but something's wrong. So it's in that space that I try to use sports as the attraction to do a couple of things. One, have our community communicate, to be in a safe space, to be able to say to the brother, what was on your mind when you did that? And 90% of the time, that stuff get resolved. And then, to the other part of the sports where it's healthy, right? They get to work out and using sports to then spin it to job readiness, what it looked like to be on time, what it looked like to be prepared, what it looked like, to be committed to a team, and then take those principles and gear it towards building a community, economic base, one where ownership becomes the principle. So as in the sports and team, you have a talent, you can hit a home run. They're going to build their strategy around your home run because they're going to put 3 people in front of you that can get on base. And now with your home run, they go 4 people scoring. That's the concept of their academy. You have a talent, Mr. Brown. You have the ability to do several things. So now they go a talent that we're going to surround people around you, some first base players, some hitting doubles. But with these people being around you and now you're hitting home runs, we all benefit. One, you benefit as an individual.
Wait, did you just flip this to a metaphor?
Yeah.
Okay.
One, you benefit as an individual, and then to the team.
I was gonna say, I don't know if I've hit any home runs, but yeah, metaphorically, absolutely.
Metaphorically,
yeah.
Not with that hand, but metaphorically, Mr. Brown. So it's in that space that we try to surround our folks that are part of the team. We call it the mastermind team, right?
Yep.
And we surround folks and the resources around that person's talent to help them move their program forward.
So speaking of masterminds and talent, can you speak to one, the collaborations, relationships here at DARE, but then also the holiday event that's coming up on December 23rd?
So it's crazy. In all these interviews, we're going to stop and there's going to be 20 things I should have said and supposed to have said. Well, with that said, let me knock out two of them.
Sure.
On the 23rd, we're having a holiday special where we're bringing together all of their academy collaborators and partners. And in that space, we're going to perform live band with Steve, Ashley Howard, and a few others. We'll be singing. We'll have poets there doing poetry. And in between that, we'll have dignitaries calling in, wishing the community a happy holiday. And at the same time, we'll be going out to the community, giving away gifts, paying some utility bills, just having a holiday spirit, towards our community and letting everybody know, we here, we're worthy, y'all worthy. Let's just enjoy the end of this crazy 2020 year and figure out what 21 gonna look like. So we all came together, we all come together to pull this off under WCMD Media. WCMDmedia.com is our website that we're launching to extend the Dare family and to allow our reach to be stronger in the community. So yes, tune in about 6 o'clock, I believe it is, on the 23rd, and participate. Even if you want to come in and take part, everyone is welcome.
And just if you're just tuning in, my name is Sean Brown. I am the Urban Disruptor, and this is the Urban Disruptor's Weekly Wrap Up, a weekly show on news and politics, shot here at Dare Academy at 1656 Kane Avenue in the Parkside neighborhood of Camden. Today, my guest is Anthony Ways, also known as Mancakes. I should ask you about that in a second. Also known as Mancakes. We are here at the studio. I'm talking today to Anthony Ways about his book, The Journey, and also Urbanomics, and the interview that he did in Anointed News Journal, which you can get this week. An interview he did with Reverend Chris Collins. He did this. You can find this week, and most stores like Wawa or other stores which carry news publications, you can also get one here. Anthony, how did you get the nickname Mancakes?
Yeah. So my aunt did it. So as a child, when I was born, they said my features were strong, right? Male features. So that's the man part. And then being a baby, of course, sweet they go to cakes. So being a baby with male features got the name Mancakes. Well, now let me finish that story. I get down Trenton to prison. I told you I'm practicing Islam. So my name is Wakil. So I'm in the bed. Guy come up to the cage, and he says, "I know your secret." So I jump up. What secret is that? Almost made me nervous a little bit. He said, "Your name Mancakes." I flipped up. You motherfucking right, that's my name. What you thought I was denying that or running from it? From that day, I stopped using attributes. I left Mancakes to stand because I felt like this. Two things. There's only one of me. So if you heard Mancakes, then the fuck you know it was Mancakes. There's only one of me. And then in the other space, I always felt like the enemy, right? When you identify yourself as a Muslim or as African centrist, right? And you're changing your names. In prison, you labeled yourself. They automatically tagged you. They automatically dealt with you according to their script. So who's a Mancakes? What is a Mancakes? I figured by the time they figured that out, I already did what I needed to do as far as sharing and planting my seeds and dropping my jewels, and I move on. And then by the time that seed grew to be what it's supposed to be, they don't even know I was a part of it. Like that was my math in prison. That's a part of my math out here. So that's the story of Mancakes. It was a childhood name that I tried to shake off. Once it was presented to me as a negative, I wore it as a badge of honor.
If anyone has any questions, anything they want to get out, this is the time to put it in the comments. Some of my friends in the community, you have asked me questions, and I think this is maybe a time to talk about it. To talk about it. Going back to the book, especially The Journey, a little bit of Urbanomics as well. You talk about politics, and the importance that it has, because we have to be political players one way or another in order to create the changes in these three branches of government that we have. That's why I met you. I didn't meet you. I didn't meet you on Morton Street. I didn't meet you on Chase Street. I met you in City Hall at a meeting hosted by a councilman at the time. For many years, when you and I were meeting, it was in the community center. Yes. And in the community center, you weren't surrounded by blunts and jars. You were surrounded by blueprints and neighborhood plans and survey results of the Whitman Park neighborhood, and making peace not in the streets, but making peace between politicians to get along, to have some type of movement in terms of neighborhood development. Am I describing this accurately?
Yes, sir.
Okay. With that said, how do you view how our political state is right now, and how would you assess your own participation in our local politics?
Our politics is a mess. Are you serious? Like, you want me to answer this, right?
I do want you to answer it. Yeah.
Our politics is a mess. And when I answer that, I'm not talking about nobody.
Right.
I'm talking about America, democracy, that says one person.
Federal, state, local, right. Republican, Democrat.
Right.
Yes.
All of it. I'm talking everybody.
Black people, white people.
Right.
Yeah.
You have the right to do certain things. And in Camden, New Jersey, that right is taken and have been taken for some time. So when a state takeover occurred, as a citizen of Camden, New Jersey, I lost my right to have my representation, right? A representation from me that I voted for. Win, lose, or draw, right? I voted for. So in that space of a state having power over our municipal decisions, I find that an issue. Now, with that said, I understand our tax base can't fulfill our responsibility to the schools, to, cleaning the neighborhood, our police, our firefighters, so forth. So I get that state assistance is needed, but now we need to start having that honest conversation with ourselves within the community. We can cry about that we don't have our rights, and that's a fact. That's why it's a mess. But at the same time, we ain't responsible enough or have been held accountable in the space of being responsible to our community and how to govern accordingly. So as much as I'm bitter about our politics or disappointed, I participate because I know participation is necessary to make it better. So one would say, they all the nonsense. Oh, you with the machine. Oh, no, you can't be with the machine. You're in the streets. I get it all. And the reality is I'm zeroed in on purpose. How do we get our rights back according to the principles of this country, right? We talked about law earlier. Law is one of them spaces. Politicians create law. Politicians enforce law. The other branch interpret law. So it's in the space of law that we have to understand how we got here and how we gonna get out. So that's my thought of politicians.
When I think of you just said the machine in the streets. There's one particular thing. I'm not going to say who said it, although it won't be hard for you to figure it out. But I went at a political event, and it was on election day, and an elected politician brags about how when he was knocking on doors, he knocked on the doors on rough streets where he could see possible drug dealers down the street, and he's like, has a smile. He's like, hey, we still knocked on that door. We did it anyway. We said we're going to knock on all the doors. I'm like, you're in Camden, of course. What you think you think it's special? You think you deserve congratulations, kudos for knocking on the door, and you are in this city?
Right.
That is not something that even the mere fact that you think this is something
that's special.
That special shows a fundamental lack of understanding. But here's the kicker. You know this because you know the data. You can win an election in Camden with really not talking to anybody under 30 years old. One time. You don't need their vote. You don't need to talk to them because most of the people that vote are an older group of people. They're homeowners. They're seniors. They live in towers. And the system is designed for when turnout is that low, you can win an election by a landslide without getting with literally not getting one vote of a young person, even though young people represent the largest group of people in our city.
That's intentional.
It is, so, and I'm saying this to you because I'm not saying you're not Jesus, you're not a prophet, nor am I claiming that. However, we do learn lessons, especially as Christians, we learn lessons from Jesus. His first miracle wasn't healing the blind. His first miracle wasn't bringing somebody back to life. His first miracle was he was at a wedding that people got mad at because there wasn't anything to drink and there was no food, and he turned water to wine and made bread. And this dude became the guy that was the carpenter down the street,
Right.
the son of Joseph and Mary, became very popular very quickly because there were thousands of people at this wedding. And in Jewish culture at that time, a wedding was the biggest party. It was the biggest celebration.
Right.
And run out. I mean, can you guys imagine being at a wedding that you think there's going to be liquor at and it runs out? It would be a riot. So he knew how to connect to, the point is, he knew how to connect to his community in a way that other people, the Sadducees and the Pharisees, did not on this Sunday morning. You know how to connect with your community. I'm an intelligent person, but I got kind of this geeky thing. I have this suburban kicker. I'm not going to be heard in the same way you're going to be heard. And you can be heard in the fourth floor of City Hall, and you can be heard in East Camden, North Camden, or South Camden, and people are going to listen to what they have to say because, you're going to be objective. You're going to be fair in your assessment. You're going to understand different parts of it. And this is a critically important characteristic that keeps more peace in this community than there would otherwise be. And I think that a mistake that we make in this city is underestimating the value that this contribution gives to where we are. I mean, obviously, I tell you about this all the time, but I think it's just important to note that if you look at, if you can't, when you for years, when Dana Rett was mayor, as soon as somebody I heard her do this I would say at least 5 times. As soon as someone would ask a question about crime in Camden, specifically crime, the first thing she would talk about is the police and boots on the ground. I'm like, what? Police respond to
After the fact.
After the fact. Public safety can't be rooted in a police strategy.
It's propaganda. I ain't saying that against Dana. I'm just saying as a way of life. That it hurts my heart to know, like, I don't think Dana mean no harm when she's doing that. But we got to recognize that's the Southern strategy from Richard Nixon election campaign.
Law and order.
Law and order. This is that bull crap. We need no law and order. We need love.
Right.
We need to connect to our kids. We need to be in that space of seeking what's on their mind and drawing it out. Right. We need to be in them creative spaces. Law did what? You get warehouse. You get sent to prison. No education. They offer nothing there. You're in a room 23-1. Well, tell me what that benefit anyone. I think I'm an exception to the rule because I think most people are down there thinking about what's the worst crime they can do now. Because where is their brain getting toward something different at or educated? So the safety thing, I hear it. I ain't mad at it. But I'm gonna argue that over the last 8 years, the softball games and the basketball games were more effective than the police. And that's no charge on the police because the reality of policing is after the fact. We talking about prevention. And prevention occurs with people in the neighborhood like yourself and even the Wawas of the world, the Tom Nelsons of the world that are giving that energy to babies regardless if the camera is on. So it's in those spaces that it matters, right? That's going to be the prevention. That's going to be the change that Camden is going to get. And I go as far as even like, we talk about some of the young ladies. I ain't going to name nobody because some of them have issues, but to the young ladies that are in the streets, that are trendsetters, right? A young lady named, I ain't going to name nobody. The people that are trendsetters in the streets that say to the neighborhood gang member and the neighborhood drug dealer, use a sucker, use a fool, you killing our own kind, you're poisoning our own kind, ain't nothing cool about that, right? Or she can go to the dude that is doing his little real estate thing, he's trying to put his program together, and then say, this is it, I'm attracted to this. I'm telling you that changes the culture. That's prevention, right? Because the dude at the end of the day always want the girl. At the end of the day, the bottom line is the dude want the girl. So if the girl is saying this is the standard for which you get me, that's culture changing. Police come in after the boy been shot. All right, he dead, and now he dead. What happens next? His family revenging. He's mad at that person. That one, that the kids is lost because their father going like nothing harsh on the police, but they not preventing.
And I know for a fact that the police do not look at what they consider gang on gang violence or murder the same way they look at a so-called innocent person
Right.
getting being hurt.
Right.
And it's frustrating because one way or another we're all victims.
Yeah.
And one of the things I don't like about that idea is when you look at the money that matter of fact, I'm going to ask you a question about this anyway. But when you look at the matter of fact, let me just say this as a question. When you look at the amount of money that comes into Camden in the drug market and the amount of money that's in our city because we have Subaru, Campbell's Soup, we have Connor Strong Buckaloo, multi-million dollar, if not billion-dollar making companies. With all that money circulating into our city, how can we still have the level of poverty that we have? And I'm saying this in part because you wrote a book, Urbanomics, is literally a book on urban economics. When you and anyone, if you read this, this is an easier read than maybe a economics textbook, but this is a true book on economics with a spin from an urban
Perspective.
city perspective. But where is this money? Where's all this money at?
So corporate America is keeping it with corporate America. It goes back to a banking system, for example, as you. A community bank is going to be more in tune to the community and give the loans out according to their understanding because they're there, right? And now you got big banks like Chase. They not giving us no bread, bro. They not here. They're above the energy. They here in the stock market or trading with the world. So it is with corporate America, right? Hotel. What do they do? And in their doing, how do a Camden person buy it? Please. That stuff is for.
You want to buy a nuclear reactor?
No.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
It's for other countries to purchase. So now once they purchase it, it goes into the corporate bank accounts, and then where it go? It's never touching us. So a true corporation that's here, economic base, provides jobs for that community. For every job that corporation creates two jobs within the secondary market, meaning school teachers, police, firefighters, barbershops, restaurants. Hotep, what? Now, I don't want to point nobody out, but out of them corporations you identify, I'll bet less than 10% of that workforce is from Camden. So there goes your answer. Camden is not benefiting from them corporations being here directly. Now, the way economies work, I welcome every one of them corporations here because one corporation draw upon another, right? So because Hotech is there, American Water comes and then so forth. Now in that space,
like we should have a lunch truck on Broadway and Morgan Boulevard for the people that work on Hotech to walk outside and get something. And some people on lunch trucks are millionaires.
Absolutely, ain't nothing wrong with that. Right. To the barbers and so forth, serve that corporation, right? The necessities and needs for that corporation, as far as eating and taking care of themselves, clothing, should be addressed by Camden people. And then that money is now spent within the community and then circulated according to how it needs to be circulated.
So, Mr. Ways, Felix says, an often viewer says, I respect your resilience. Keep planting the seeds needed in our community. Too much business in Camden in its current state. A lot of folks employed and profiting from poverty and education reform. Any thoughts on that? Are people profiting off of poverty and education reform? Of course. I think so too.
Right. So federal dollars flow into Camden for what reasons? And then who benefited, right?
Right.
So
you have because of the level of poverty. I mean, you can just really just start and end it right there, but also level of crime. Camden organizations qualify for grant money from the federal government, often state government, but the federal government gets the biggest amounts of money.
Yes.
And what some would argue is that there's these guys are doing a good job of, let's say you're hungry today. Oh, here you go. We got something for you to eat. We got something for you to eat and drink.
Mm-hmm.
But what are we doing to make sure that you're able to eat for the next month? Well, we might be able to get you SNAP benefits that you can qualify for.
Right.
Okay, but now what about the next year?
Mm-hmm.
How do we build your wealth so that your children and grandchildren are never going to be able to face hunger again? Who's responsible for that in this community?
So each family or individual is responsible, but who is helping that process move along? Very few. And if anything, the process is to keep us in this state because there's a lot of money being made as a result, right? So we got hospitals, trauma center in Cooper Hospital, right? They the best trauma hospital in the country, if not definitely this side of the East Coast. But what does that mean? That means a lot of our family members and community relations has been murdered, shot, right? For them to get that expertise. So now, cool, they got the expertise, they learn how to address trauma. But now, with all that expertise, let's figure out how to stop it, right? Like, cool, we got the expertise on how to save the life after he's shot. But now, where that conversation at on the expertise to prevent him from being shot in the first place? We talk about poverty and education and things to that nature. That has to be addressed. And the last 40, 50 years, what has been addressed is poverty and different trauma spaces, but it's only in the resources that are gathered, not in the prevention of it.
And I would say that you have I know Kyrie Golden, one of my friends, he works in College Access Elite Academy, and I've said this before. I know for a fact that he's helped hundreds, not even dozens, hundreds. It might be over 1,000 at this point, but at least hundreds of people get to some of the best colleges in America.
Mm-hmm.
But what was out of his control, out of Leap's control, is our most successful young people who get educated other places don't want to come back and live in Camden anymore because they feel like, what does the city have to offer them? And their academy has something to offer them.
Mm-hmm.
And as you mentioned, there are other people that, there are definitely pockets of good, but why would a person move to Camden if they can move to, let's just say, one town over where they feel like they're going to have a better, I know you disagree with me on this, so you're going to say it, but where they move to Pennsauken, they're going to have a nicer house and a nicer quality of life.
You drank the Kool-Aid, huh, Mr.
I drank yeah, it was good too.
So peace is a state of mind. And finding happiness in that space of peace is an internal journey, not an external journey. So now you could go to your suburbs, right? And you could pay your extra $20,000 a year in taxes. You might have to do that in Camden too to be able to afford our tax base to,
That's where we're headed. That's where we're headed there, Moraine. Just kidding. Kidding.
But
seriously.
In them suburbs where they paying that $20,000 a year in taxes, where they paying that $4,000 or $5,000 a year in gas to get back and forth to work, like that expense is an unnecessary expense. I laugh at that personally. And then now you say, what's the necessities of life? Food, clothing, and shelter, right? So if a home in Camden is 20, and then you could put 40, 80, another 100 in it to make it like you want. Your tax base is $1,500 a year. You're at a state of peace because you ain't busting yourself in the head trying to pay a mortgage or rent or any of that, nonsense because you own your property, right? So now what? I got a friend in Camden, own his house. He got a hot tub in his backyard. He didn't put his fence up and stuff that, is private. But you can't tell him he ain't in this heavenly place right here in Camden, right? And no stress.
But I think you're absolutely right. I know I was looking at properties on Realtor.com, and I saw a house in North Camden, $45,000,
Mm-hmm.
move-in ready. It would need a little bit of work.
Mm-hmm.
$3,000 or $4,000 worth. So let's just prop that number from 45 to $50,000. You know what a mortgage is on a $50,000 house?
Yeah, like $200, $300.
Now add taxes.
$250, $350.
Your mortgage, including taxes, would be less than $500 a month for a 30-year mortgage. Less than $500 a month to be a homeowner in Camden.
Right.
And now, if you go to school in North Camden, that means you have the option to go to Cooper's Point, to Mastery. You have some options. I don't think as a community though we've done a good enough job. We have the lowest. We're the poorest city in America, highest crime rate in America from time to time. We also have the lowest credit score in the United States. Excuse me. We had Operation Hope here. They were addressing that. I don't think they're doing that work anymore. Clarify does a little bit of this out of Philly, but on a mass level, I know so many young people who do not know basics of money management. I know people my age who are not pushing themselves to becoming homeowners because they're not even thinking about. They think it's too hard. It's too complicated. Is the responsibility more people like you and me who are community leaders, or is the responsibility more so, would you say, on our political leadership, like the mayor and council?
It's not the mayor and council because at the end of the day, our democracy calls them forward and then get rid of them and put the next person. So it's more our responsibility as a community, especially communities leaders who have, want to be consistent in their work. So it's on us. In that space now, a mindset has to change, right? So what do I mean? People, you just said it. Poorest neighborhood in the country. All right, cool. But the rules don't change. What do I mean? You still creditworthy. You can get welfare, Social Security, unemployment, and you're still creditworthy, bro. So now, we'll show your income, right? Assets, maybe not, but you're still creditworthy. Now, you, 3 of your friends, y'all go get the loan to back your business. So I'm an investor now. You could call me a welfare recipient, unemployment. But at the end of the day, if my credit score is up, right, and we create a operation agreement, then we could go borrow money to back your company. So now I'll be considered an investor. I'm not a welfare recipient. Depends on how talented you are and how far the company grow. I could be off of welfare and into the company as an investor. So is this state of mind? I heard somebody else make an argument with the child tax credit that is out there. We talking about like $10,000. You got a couple kids, right? So if there's 4 or 5 of y'all again, the properties in Camden is under that 40,000 commercial property. Y'all could go get y'all tax credit for y'all, go open a business, and then there you go. That's the start of that process.
But see, this is in our
What you said.
What about this?
What they all say. Everybody's not built to be owners or entrepreneurs.
So I'm skip yes, but on top of that point, this is why I say to you privately, I'm gonna say it to you publicly. Don't you think people listen to you say this more than listen to me say it?
No, because I've been saying it for a long time. So I think it's a state of mind.
So it's right. It's a mindset. So how do we change? How do we open up our communities? How do we open up more people to this concept? Then?
So for years,
I've heard you. I've been on. You own a property on Chase Street.
Yes.
I have sat on a porch with you, as I'm sure people are driving past thinking maybe something else is going on, and I swear I see you telling some. I don't know who this young woman was. I don't think I ever asked you. You were breaking down all the elements of the business plan. Because she's like, hey, Mancakes, I want to start my business. I want to do this and that. Like, all right, and every credit worthiness, finding location, like you're breaking it down. I don't even remember her, so I don't know what she did. Do you have hope that a new generation of people are hearing this message and are taking this script and are moving forward with it?
Yeah, I absolutely have hope, and I know it's going to be the space. Look, I love my grandma, but all her life she told me, you got to go get a college degree. You got to become educated because, and that because was always, you got to go work for the system. I wish I was pounded with, and I was on the other side of my family, my grandfather. Now you got to own it. If you don't own it, you got to adhere. So now that's the space I speak from. Ownership. And if you could tell me I could be a worker, I could be an owner.
But I would say that in your grandmother's generation, the rules have changed because in that time you could get a job, have healthcare benefits, have a pension and retirement plan, and make enough money to live a decent middle class lifestyle.
Yes.
Not the case today. I know so many people under 30 who work in retail, especially their jobs intentionally schedule them at 28 hours so they don't qualify for healthcare.
Absolutely.
But then they give them extra time week after week. So not really, they're on paper, they're part-time, but they're truly full-time employees not qualifying for healthcare. So that makes it the idea of ownership should make it more attractive, and now you can buy your own health insurance through the exchange. Yes. You couldn't do that 10 years ago.
And just as important, who's making that decision? So you telling me you don't want healthcare?
Right.
You telling me that you're not worthy of healthcare?
Right.
Like who's making this decision?
I want healthcare. I am worthy of it.
I would think so. And now in that space, as opposed to going to beg for it, right, or going to get this mediocre job that they playing games, then I'm saying create it, bro. Because in that creation, you're going to be able to leave it to your children. Because your job, wherever you work at, you can't leave that to them babies.
So I used to say what you said. You're quoting me correctly, but I've changed my mind on it now that I help business owners. I used to say not everybody's cut out to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody can be a business owner, and I stick by that. However, with the business owners, the entrepreneurs I know, Naima Hickson, Tierra Genlack, Julian Pratt, Joey Deal. And I can name more. I am going to name some. I can name more. Not everyone in their circle should also be an entrepreneur, but they should be supporting that person. So if you have tech skills, you don't necessarily need to start your business, but you can help other people to do this. Everybody has a skill, and I was telling Keisha the other day. I saw this woman travels the country, teach. She's a lactation consultant, teaching women in hospitals about breastfeeding. Makes $10 million a year from doing it because she writes books and she's branded and she has this high public speaking fee from teaching women about breastfeeding, something our ancestors naturally did. Everyone did. What Chris asked you this? All right, we got some comments here. Back then, jobs and livable wages. And this is Aaron Johnson. Back then, those jobs paid livable wages, and folks were able to live middle-class lifestyles. Yes, it provided more stability for families, heightened the tax base that helped truly fund our schools and infrastructure. And Ms. Pam Grayson says, be consistent in your words and your actions and hold people accountable.
That's what Ms. Baltimore is a partner here.
Yes.
And two things she says that always play in my head. Don't reinvent the wheel. Mm-hmm. So in that space, that's important to me because I want to blow this whole thing up. Like, this ain't for me. Black man in America, this ain't working. So let's do over. But
let's disrupt.
Yeah, let's disrupt. But to Miss Pam's point, ain't no sense of reinventing the wheel. It's the energy is moving accordingly. Now we just gotta influence that energy in a way that it becomes productive and beneficial to us, as opposed to the way we've been interacting with the energy, like, in that uncertain space. So now when we're in that uncertain space, that's the accountability part. Man, you know that you stressing because you worried about something you were supposed to do it. And now if you can't or you need help, this is what the surrounding team is for. All right, bro, I see you struggling in that space. I know what time it is a little bit. This is my thought. I could just stimulate your thought to move forward. It ain't so much about me, it's about you. So is that I appreciate my partnership with Ms. Pam when she talks about accountability and responsibility.
So I want to ask you, I think this might be the last question, but in our own relationship, we've known each other for 15 years. We've had many, obviously a lot of conversations, some disagreements, some accountability sessions on both ends. I have this platform as the Urban Disruptor, and in the last 2 weeks, I've had 3 people refer to me as a journalist, and I told them I'm not a journalist. I'm not a journalist. I do not want to be held to follow the rules of journalism because I'm here to give my opinion.
Right.
I'm here to say how I feel about things, and now with that said, I have responsibility still to be accurate, yes, based off of facts, yes, not to misrepresent things. And even like, I've talked negatively about Sheriff Whip Wilson a few times, but even in that, I try my best to hold on to facts in the situation or admit that, this dude hurt my feelings a few times when it was unnecessary. And I'm just going to let you know that that is behind, this is where it comes from. With that said, as I navigate in politics and community stuff, what critiques, questions, concerns, or what advantages, benefits do you see from me being able to use this Urban Disruptor platform from WCMD, from what you founded?
So I think when we were talking about this, he was hesitant in doing it. It was like, no, I'm doing too much. I'm not sure. And I don't know if this did it or not, but I remember when I asked this question, the light in your eye went on. I said, when you was at home and a kid and you was standing in the mirror, what did you want to do, bro? And you was like, yo, bro, this is it for me. Like, and I'm saying, well, let's go. Like, they go to play for me. You tap into that talent and then you go. Now, I'm saying that to say that wasn't you choosing that. God chose that for you. That's why you knew as a kid that you was drawn to it. So that's where I come up with, bro, that's your purpose. Now, in purpose, you're going to take advantage of the media to advance your truth, your understanding of that truth. So I think from my perspective, I watched you over 15 years do a lot of things successful. I watched you do some things that I wonder what the fuck you was doing. But I think this is your space, right? I watched you organize under urban leadership. I'm saying that right?
Young urban leaders.
Young urban leaders. I watched you organize some kids that I'm sure they are right now being productive adults, right?
Yes.
I watched that. But at the same time, in that space, I watch you struggle with them, right? I watch you be uncertain in spaces because in your leadership, that one-on-one is good, but I think this is policy setting, getting to the core of it is your truth. And I think this platforms allow you to dig deep and get there. And then the feedback and the energy that come back allows you to build on it. So I hope I'm answering your question.
You are. So I think something that I've been a victim of that you haven't, and you, Shanika Boucher, Keisha, Miss Pam. I mean, I can keep naming people who have done a great job of talking me out of this. But I definitely have taken the worst things I've heard about myself from other people and let it bring me down.
Yeah, that's that bullshit.
Instead of ignoring it or even seeing the truth in it, it's still moving forward.
If it's truth in it, then yeah. But again, like, I think the most important thing when it comes to me and myself, don't nobody define me, bro. The definition of me is based on me and my God. And if I hear whispers from other people's voices, I'm rejecting that shit. I don't even care if it's good because ain't nobody defining me. So you will see people come up and praise. Oh, Mr. Wayne Anthony, what? I'm even killed with everybody.
Right.
They could be the best of the best, or it could be a crackhead. Say, oh, Mr. Ways. And I'm gonna give them the same energy, the same respect, the same presence, because that's where it comes at. That internal truth. So yeah, that internal truth is the key, and being respectful to all energies. It don't allow you to feed into the highs. Oh, he's the best in the world. I don't feel that. Or the lows. Oh, he's destroying our community. I don't feel none of that. My definition is based upon me and my God. My mission is based upon me and my God. If I see a collaboration or where we can interact because it's in tune to my mission, then I'm all open for it. If I see you in a space that is not in tune to what I'm doing, bro, we don't got nothing to talk about or nothing in common. I'm more geared towards, messing with people that are considered the nobodies in the world because we try to get something done. I can sit up, I guess, in boardrooms and shit the champagne and talk slick, but that ain't where the work at. There's money up there probably, but the work is with the people. So that's my position. That's my space.
I want everyone to tune into WCMD Media on December 23rd. You'll see the flyers all over. I'll share it on my page, WCMD Media page. You can find it on Anthony Way's page as well. I want to thank you for doing this interview with me today. There's a lot of really good things happening. I'm going to try to find some time this week to talk more about it in the middle of the week. I want everybody to remember that COVID-19 is still real. Have you had anyone in your family or friends affected by COVID-19?
Yes, I just did a funeral with my aunt that passed. So yeah, people been passing, or a lot of folks, young folks, been catching it. I'm glad they've been making through. But yeah.
So let's try our best to keep social distance, wash our hands, drink plenty of water, eat fruits and vegetables, get sunlight so you're not vitamin D deficient, because that could be a cause of COVID-19.
Get vitamin D supplements just as much as the sunlight, because it's cold out. We ain't really going to be going outside. But from my understanding, vitamin D is playing an important role.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
So you consume vitamin D, but you still need sunlight for your body to produce the vitamin D in your body.
Yes.
So keep your curtains open during the day. It's going to be, by the way, some news. I'm not a journalist, but I'm just sharing what I read myself. There'll be 5 to 10 inches of snow between Wednesday and Thursday. So whatever plans you need to make, just be aware of that as well. And one thing I do want to, I think this is important because of who watches this show. Whether you are a hardcore activist or you are the mayor or on council, whatever, we have deep conversations about understanding where people come from and seeing where they fit into the overall journey that exists. And in that, there is a certain level of respect, but also accountability that has to exist in that. And this is something that I think that you do a great job of discussing in our the meetings that we have here and in the organizations that are built. Is there any? And I know earlier you said there are things that you have mentioned. Is there anything that you can think? I know Chris asked you this too. Is there anything that you want to get off, or that you want to say to the general public that maybe I didn't ask you about?
A couple spaces. I have a couple partners I ain't mentioned. Brother Henshaw, Tom Henshaw, and Suleiman, Sean Washington, Kevin Baker. There's an injustice that has been visited upon our community that the men and myself will address and have been trying to address. So if you add us up, let me see, 25, 50, 65, 95. So between us 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 125 years of prison time. So 125 years have been taken from our lives. And in that space, that's not fair. That's not cool. And I ain't even talking about guilt or innocence. I'm talking about slavery, right? Mass incarceration being a new form of slavery. So they got 125 years out of us. That some way that withdrawal have to be put back, not in our individual lives, but in our collective lives for the generation that's to come. So our work is in the injustice, innocent people. But just as much, we got a thing called Meet 'em at the Gate with the NOS and partnership with Camden County, where we welcome brothers and sisters home, right? 90% of the time, they don't have resources. Even if they do, it's limited. So we try to direct them in the right spaces, provide some gift cards so they can have the basic necessities. We also, try to get up there to the State House and write legislation that will change that mass incarceration and that space of using the law to punish Black men. The subtitle to my book is the decriminalization of Black America. So that's what our work is, to decriminalize Black America. So that's that space. In the joyful spaces, my son's mother, Naomi Gillespie, with the dance school, the gymnastics, and the arts, where like you'll see her talent being displayed in the holiday special, because she pretty much, brought the format of the entertainment together, right? So in that space of uplifting our children, giving them stuff to believe in, having the confidence to be, right? Confidence is a major issue in our community. To be able to have the belief that they could do and be anything they want, right? So in in a prevention good space, I like to acknowledge that part of the work. In the injustice space, I like to acknowledge my brothers that are going hard, right? Because you can't do it by yourself. No man's an island. But with us coming together, the forces is strong enough to get results, right? Because the collective is the key. So everybody bringing that talent to a collective, addressing the issue is the key. And I think that uh, we're on our way to a better space. But I like where we at right now as far as building and laying that foundation for our community to bring about change, real effective change that's going to be generational change. Uh, I thank you for being a partner, Mr. Brown. You valuable to the team. You valuable even when it comes to me because uh, I like to I like to think of myself as an intellectual, but I am who I am. So in that space of bouncing off, is very few people that I can bounce off, right? Even in even in the intellectual world, most of them be trying to judge what the conversation is about as opposed to seeking an understanding of it. So I appreciate you from that space where I could bounce ideas off you. We go back and forth, and then the product or the end result is better than where I started. So, and I'm appreciative to the people that came and left, right? They say when a baby is born, it's going to lose his old teeth and then a permanent teeth going to come. So I'm looking for the people that's going to be permanent. I'm looking to build. I'm looking to create, and I'm here to collaborate in the most effective way possible. Uh, uh, and when I point that out, that's the 9 Miss Pams of the world that believe before it exists, right? So in that space, I'm grateful.
And I'm grateful for you and our friendship and partnership. And I'm grateful for you, our viewers of Urban Disruptors Weekly Wrap Up. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Sunday. So much more to come. We are working on an exciting interview by the end of this year, so stay tuned. Yeah, let's see if we can pull this off. Thank you, everybody, for tuning.
It starts on the 23rd. June in,
right.
At 6. We're gonna have some good guests and some good energy.
Thank you, everybody. If you have any feedback or anything, please let me know. Text me, send me a message in the inbox. Plenty of good things to come. Like the page, share this video. If you didn't do so yet, please share the video so other people can see this too. About 70% of the people that watch this are watching it in the future, not live. But I'm so thankful for you, everyone that comments and reacts as we do this. So take care of yourselves. Have a great rest of a year. And my suggestion for anyone thinking of gifts, give your children experiences, not just wrapped presents. Travel. I know it's hard under COVID. Travel. Figure out a way to do experiences. Think of the information. There's shows that are going on. We'll share that information. But take care of yourselves. I love you all. Have a great day.
Peace.